Well, I think first of all, I love kind of quoting Mac Brown on this. I was watching, we watched it as a team actually in training camp, the documentary on the '05 team. And I'm not exactly sure who we played after the Ohio State game. And it was kind of, I think, a little bit similar to this one. You guys will do your research and tell me after, I'm sure. But he used a quote in there that we had a bunch of sore backs going into that game from everybody patting us on the back about how great we were and how great we played. And even tonight going into the stadium as I was taking the field, fans congratulating us on the win last week. And it's human nature to sometimes get distracted by that and you lose sight of what's right in front of you. And I think it kind of showed in the first half, especially offensively. We had a couple false starts right off the bat. We had a false start on the first play of the game. And why is that? How can we go play at Alabama on the road and not have one false start and then come home and have a false start on the first play of the game? And so that lends itself to psyche, right? And it's not about physical ability or what we're capable of. I think then we had a snap in there where we had 12 guys on the field on defense. How do you go to Alabama and not ever have one snap of 12 on the field, but then you come home and you have 12 on the field? So I think it was a good lesson learned for us. I think at the end, I thought our guys really did a nice job of maintaining their cool, staying composed. We've talked a lot about our composure, our poise. I thought that shined through tonight. And in the end, we adapted schematically to some things that they were doing. And we found a way to really dominate the second half of the football game and then ultimately the fourth quarter, which, again, I've talked a lot in here about being a versatile football team. And I thought our versatility showed up tonight. All the talk going into the game was, could we find a consistent run game? And in the end, the run game was what took this game home in the fourth quarter. I thought Jonathan Brooks, the offensive line, the tight ends played extremely well. Obviously, Xavier made a really explosive play. We finally got him in a one-on-one scenario where he could do what he could do. I thought our defense had a really good football game tonight. After that start of the game, I think our defense forced 5 straight punts at one juncture of the game. Our offense, we had the 190-yard drive, and they were making us earn it, which we knew that's what would happen in the ball game. And then ultimately in the fourth quarter, to score 3 consecutive drives after the Sorrell sack, I just thought in the end was good for us. I think that's what championship teams do. They find a way to win when they're not at their best. And tonight, it's safe to say we were not at our best. But we found a way to win. We found a way to adapt. We found a way to, stay composed, keep our composure, and then start playing our style, our brand of football, which I thought, really shined through. I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on our fans in the stadium tonight. It was electric. Over 101,000 in the stadium for a non-conference game. Just tremendous. The atmosphere, got to credit, CDC, the administration, for the environment that they've created here. It's a definite home field advantage. We feel it. We feed off the energy of our fans, and I can't thank them enough for what they brought tonight, and I know they'll continue to bring throughout the season. So, just a couple of highlights in the game. I thought Ryan Sanborn punting the football was tremendous. I think he had 3 straight over 50-yard net punts. Drops another punt inside the 5. Jaron Thompson, back-to-back weeks with an interception, and what a huge play that was this week, return it for the touchdown. And as that touchdown, the offensive line, I think their ability to impose their will and our ability to run the football there in the second half, definitely shined through as well. So in the end, there's a lot to learn from games like this. And that's going to be the key component for us, is that, when we get back in here, that we take the lessons from this game, from a win that's not totally pretty, learn from it, and then get ourselves ready for Big 12 play starting up next week.
Thanks, Coach. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get a mic to you. Start here on the far left with Eric.
Steve, you talked about this team being a fourth quarter team. Just wondering, is that just part of the process? Is it a team that can just turn it on in the fourth quarter, or is that something that you want to try to channel and get that obviously much earlier in the ball game?
Well, in the end, I'd like not to have to wait till the fourth quarter, but it is little bit comforting to know that we can play that way in the fourth quarter. This is back-to-back weeks of 21-point fourth quarters. Again, I think there's a lot of credit to that. I think there's a credit to our strength and conditioning program, the condition that our team is in, that they can play that way in the fourth. I think there's a lot of credit to the coaches making the proper adjustments in game at halftime and in game to adjust to what's happening in the ball game. I think there's a lot of credit to the players and their psyche and keeping their poise and keeping their confidence and knowing that if we just continue to execute, good things will happen. And so, this offseason and 2 off seasons ago, all I heard about was we weren't a fourth quarter team and that we didn't play well in the fourth quarter. So it's like anything in football. You guys hear me say it all the time. You generally in our sport, you get what you emphasize. And we've made a huge emphasis on our ability to finish games and playing that way in the fourth quarter. And I can't pick 2 better weeks, back-to-back weeks in a row of us playing our best football in the fourth quarter.
On your right, Thomas.
With Jonathan Brooks's performance tonight, how much will that impact, assuming CJ's healthy next week, how much will that impact how much work JB gets going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we'll deal with that as it comes. Again, Cedric just wasn't 100% tonight, and I just didn't want to risk kind of where he was. I thought, Jonathan stepped up, shining all the way through, and kind of felt like he got stronger as the game went on. Which is a sign of a really good back. That how many times have we seen that and talked about that with Bijan and how well he would run in the fourth quarter of tight games. And so, we need CJ. We need to get him back. Those two are both physical runners and run our style. So, again, we'll monitor that as we go. It's hard for me to sit here and predict who's going to play what percentage of the plays. I just know we got 2 good players back there right now that can run our style of runs the way we want to.
On your left, onward.
Coach, over here. You kind of touched on it as far as the defense is concerned. Sorrell gets that sack. You guys hold him to the field goal. You guys score, but then you hold Wyoming to a 3-and-out. That happens. And then Quinn scores, and then Jaron Thompson goes ahead and gets the pick. So just talk about how the defense maybe stepped up, not only tonight, but maybe all year long. They've been pretty consistent.
Yeah, I've been proud of that group, and Barron, to start with his sack, he's a guy who we've been talking about Ethan Burke. We've been talking about Anthony Hill. We've been talking about Tavondre Sweat. We've been talking about Byron Murphy. And tonight it was Barron Sorrell that made the impact play. And I think that's a sign of a really good defense is that we have multiple players that can step up and make plays at critical moments now. And I think tonight it was his turn that really set the stage. And, there's something electric about being in that north end of the field where the students are and having that sack made right there. You could feel the energy. But another guy in defense I'd be remiss if I didn't mention is Jahdae Barron. Jahdae makes 3 third-down stops for us, that were really big plays, and his physicality at that nickel spot for us shows up as much as the coverage does. It's his ability to get people on the ground, and tonight he did that as well.
Middle, Danny.
Steve, through 3 games, where do you feel this team is at as you guys head to or just Big 12 play?
Well, I think a couple things for me is one. I touched on it to the team in training camp, and because I felt it coming in, and now through 3 games, I think we're really versatile, and that's a great feeling to have, that we're not a one-dimensional team. I thought tonight we played exceptional on special teams. Xavier got a couple really good returns. Sam Bourne's punting the ball extremely well. They were only returned 1 kickoff. We tackle them inside the 20. So on that aspect of it, the special teams, I like that. I think we're, again, the one run kind of upset me, but ultimately, were we really ready to play? Was our mind right? And so they popped the 1 run, but outside of that, we minimized the explosive plays defensively, and we started stopping the run better. And then offensively, we were throwing the ball so well through 2 weeks, and then tonight it was the run game that stepped up. And so when you're versatile, you don't have to rely on, in basketball, the one guy, he's got to score 40 or we have no chance of winning. We have a group of guys and a team that we can win a variety of ways, and tonight we needed something different. And so that's a really positive thing for me. I really like the fact that we're adapting in game, that we're much better poise and composure on our sideline, on our headsets. Guys aren't panicking. We're making good adjustments, and the fourth quarter showed up. So that's, again, the positive on that front. And so, but ultimately, I think all that comes back to, we got a real level of trust on our team that we lean into. Like, talked about the culture at length. I really think this team is together. They stick together. There's, you don't feel just the kind of guys pointing the finger at something else, or why not me, or what about that? It's just, how are we going to win this game? And then, all right, we won the game. All right, now let's go fix some of the issues that we have coming out of it.
Middle, Kirk.
Steve, as good as Jonathan was tonight and as great as that one run was, you had 88 yards rushing through 3 quarters. Is the offensive line really just not getting it done to your satisfaction?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like I said, I think we have to get accustomed to something, and this is now 2 out of the 3 weeks where we have gotten an absolutely different defense than they've put on tape. and that's a sign of being a really good team, that people are going to such lengths to play a style of defense that they would never play against anybody else, that they're going to whatever length it is. And so when that happens, that's where you have to fall back on your training and trusting your training and being able to block the plays regardless of the look that we get. And we had to adjust our play calling some too. And when we were able to do that, I think I gave them better opportunities tonight later in the game to block what we were getting. And they really did a nice job of adjusting to that. And I think it allowed them to be a little bit more physical and coming off the football in a way where they could knock people off the ball. So, I do think there's some things that we can really grow from last week, late in the ball game, and then again this week in the adjustments that we made. Now, ultimately, we've got to make sure that we're game planning and then preparing and practicing things that we might see earlier in the game so that we can come out and fire on all cylinders.
Got 3 last ones. Leah on the right.
Coach, we saw Savion Red, Gunnar Helm, and even Byron Murphy get the ball in that first half. What was the intention and allowing them to play those roles today?
Yeah, Savion, we'll start with him. He, he's a really talented guy, and he was a high school quarterback that. We played at receiver when he first got here, kind of outgrew that. His physical build is what it is, and we really liked him at running back. It's been an adjustment for him. And we've had a package for him that we wanted to utilize. He got nicked up pretty good in training camp. And so we had to kind of put it on hold, and now we're able to get to it. And it's kind of similar to some of the stuff we did with Roshan for the last couple of years. And I think tonight we were able to go to that with him on a couple short yardage situations, and he ran the ball really effectively, so that was positive. Murphy has been in our goal line package now for a couple years, and he's got excellent hands. And so to throw him a ball, and nobody gets more excited than when a D lineman catches a touchdown pass. So that was pretty cool to see. And Gunnar, I've been talking about him that he's had a great training camp. He's played really good football for us through the first 2 weeks, and so for him to get that opportunity there to catch it, and I said I had you a gimme for a touchdown, but he didn't quite get in. So, but in the end, it's just a little bit of a reward for the work that these guys are doing. Gunnar's played good football, and so to utilize him in the pass game, he's got good hands. It's a benefit to us when we can keep spreading that ball around.
2 last ones. Cedric.
Hey, Steve, can you give us an update on Chris and Cole Hudson?
Yeah, both guys. We'll MRI in the morning. Chris has got an elbow injury. Cole's got a knee injury. I'm hopeful they're not long-term injuries. We'll know more, like I said, in the morning. But I'm hopeful. It's a couple 3 weeks for each guy. But we'll see how that goes. I'll update you guys on Monday.
You've bookended a great game against Alabama with a couple of sluggish first halves. Is there a tendency for these young guys to think that switch stays on after Alabama, and how are you going to have to work with that moving forward? Because there's
Yeah.
some tough teams coming up.
I think that's a great point, that you can't rely on that. You know, we got to make sure that we don't lose our stinger of being a great first half football team, which we've been historically over the first 2 seasons, is that we're really dialed into the game plan and guys go execute it at a high level. And so I want to make sure we get back to that, because that was definitely a strength of ours. But ultimately, that's coaching, right? We got to come in here on Monday morning and we got to point out areas where we can improve initially, and make sure that our psyche is right and that we're dangerous from the opening kick and not waiting till we got to have it moments. I mean, we got to have it once that ball's kicked off in the first quarter.
Last one in the back, Corey.
Coach, earlier this week you mentioned how after Bama, this program set a new standard for themselves. And so how do you think they kind of leveled up to that standard tonight? And then also, is this team where you want to be at heading into conference play?
Yeah, I can say in the first half probably didn't play to our standard. We just didn't quite have the pop, the energy, the speed that I'm accustomed to seeing us playing with. There was too many solo tackles on defense. We just weren't quite finding our rhythm offensively. But in the second half, that's what it felt like. And like I said, I give the guys a lot of credit for kind of recalibrating themselves at halftime and coming out and playing a style of football that fits us. And you guys, this about me. I critique myself as hard as I critique the players, or harder. And quite frankly, we probably should have scored the first drive of the third quarter. Those are a couple crummy play calls. The second and third down call. If I could go back and change 2 calls, like I'd tell you guys all the time, I can tell you right now, I'd change those 2 calls that I made on second down and third down, kind of in the high red right there. And then ultimately on that third down, Quinn takes a sack on something that I was probably trying a little too hard to make happen, but that's okay. And I'm going to come in here Monday and tell the players that exact same thing. And so they know, as much as I'm critiquing them and trying to get them better, we do the same as coaches too. Where I like being 3-0. I can say that. I like being 3-0. That's a heck of a lot better than any other outcome we could have right now. I think we have a team that believes in themselves and their coaches. I think we have a confident football team, but also one that knows there's more work to be done, and we get to start Big 12 play next week, and we're looking forward to it.